And we are so excited to have everybody here to join us for our February Coffee and Conversation, where we are focused. February is Black History Month, and this month we are focusing our conversation on Black leaders in our community, the work and the impact that they are doing every single day to lift every voice in our community. So, with all of our coffee and conversations, we do ask all of our guests that are joining us to stay muted out of respect for our presenters so that we can make sure. I was mentioning we don't have dogs barking or doorbells ringing. You never know when the Amazon driver is going to show up. It's always when you're not expecting it, those types of things. So we do, of course, encourage questions. And so Ellen Heggie from our staff is joining us, and she will moderate the chat function. So if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and put them in the chat. We should have time when we're all done where we can go ahead and join each other in conversation. So without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. I'm really excited to learn more from our first speaker, Kevin Saunders, who serves as the Senior Director of Programs and Contractual Operations for Damascus Way. Kevin has a deep passion to work with men who have been through crisis, believing community can provide an environment for those having been through various trauma to discover identity and purpose. It is this passion that drew Kevin towards Damascus Way. He sincerely believes the work that they do is central to building whole and thriving communities. Kevin's work experience includes housing development, building, implementing, and executing various human support service programs and services. Kevin is married with 2 daughters and 1 grandson, and he holds a BS in engineering and computer science from Howard University, a BA in ministries from the University of Northwestern St. Paul, and both a Master's Certificate of Leadership and Master of Arts in Strategic Leadership from Bethel University. Welcome, Kevin.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. First and foremost, we want to say thank you to the Rochester Area Foundation for being a continued partner and supporter of Damascus Way. It is truly great for us to have these long-term relationships and partnerships that continue to support us as an organization. So thank you so much. I want to applaud you for actually hosting this event in such an important time as this, for especially Black History Month. I'm going to just try to get straight to it. I have a presentation that I'll share with you. We've done this a couple times, but I'll try to skim through it. I won't take a lot of time, but I do want to kind of share who we are as an organization, what it is we do, and the work that basically is being done on a regular basis. So if you can see this, hopefully, and then let's see from the beginning. All right. There we go. So Damascus Way. Who are we? Defining multi-generational incarceration, addressing multi-generational incarceration, facts to think about, best practices, and how Damascus Way works. I won't spend a lot of time on multi-generational incarceration, but it is the foundation of what we focus on. We look at family and the family system and how our penal system and crime impact individual families, especially people of color. But in all families, we find that multi-generational incarceration is a common denominator. What we mean by that is we often find 2 to 3 and sometimes 4 generations that have been incarcerated at some time or another. And all all generations are impacted when a single person is incarcerated. So let's go to who are we? So we're 501c3. We are chartered as a church, actually. So our organization is a faith-based organization that believes in culturally competent services with a holistic approach. We have transformational reentry services, comprehensive peer recovery. We have connecting fathers with their children, with youth-specific programs, that are intercepting kids as they have their first contact with judiciary system. In addition, we have community housing programs. Here's a definition that I think is really important that we look at or consider. The phenomenon that where multiple generations of a family are involved in the criminal justice systems often resulting in repeated cycles of incarceration among family members. One of the things we find that this is specifically true in Native American, African American, and Latino families. Although we're starting to see more and more multi-generational incarceration with Caucasian families. So it's widespread, and it's not something that's isolated, but it literally, it says that crime and the behaviors that are affected by crime cause trauma to every family, which then leads for those type issues in families that cause lack of education or advancement. So it's really a huge thing for us to think about as we embrace or look at how we serve the broader community. That's the real focus of Damascus Way. We think about generational trauma, poor decision-making, broken family systems, increased population of offenders across the nation, and then all the far-reaching impacts, perpetual crime and addiction. I mean, we hear it all the time on the news, what's going on, but these are some of the factors or variables that we like to make sure we bring forward in the conversation when we're talking about an organization like Damascus Way and how we're addressing this such important topic. Here are just some statistics that you can kind of glean through this. Won't read through each one, but it just shows that it's affecting everyone. And a question I'll share is that, or ask of you, who of you have witnessed multi-generational incarceration firsthand? So if you think about it, you probably know someone or know of someone who has been impacted by this very dreadful situation. So best practices, we've learned from our studies, early intervention programs, where we're teaching children and youth how to stay or how to pursue their education and how to intervene when they do have first contact. Educational support, community engagement and empowerment, dealing with mental health and substance abuse, and having proper services to address those issues are all additional best practices. Job training and economic opportunities, policy and advocacy and reform, culturally relevant programming, and support for formerly incarcerated individuals. We at Damascus Way are happy to report that we literally we checked the box on 7 of these 10 best practices that literally over time we've just been doing the work now for 50 years. So those of you who don't know, Damascus Way started in Golden Valley some 50 years ago with a small house and is now expanded. We have 6 locations across the state. So we have a multi-unit building in Golden Valley where that facility houses men re-entering from incarceration. We have a multi-unit building in Rochester that houses men re-entering from incarceration. We also have in Rochester, we call it community housing. And so it's a multi-unit apartment building where men transition from the transformation center in Rochester and move into the apartments as a next stage of living. One of the things I'll share with you is that we don't think about the fact that individuals who've been incarcerated literally don't have to make a lot of decisions while they're incarcerated. So one of the greatest challenges that we deal with as we're helping these men navigate back into a life where they're gaining employment, where they're reconnecting with family and trying to establish solid housing, is that they are literally have to overcome fears of making decisions. I'll give you an example. We literally have had on multiple cases where an individual would go in Walmart with us and had to choose toothpaste and deodorant. Now, you may say that seems so simple, but to see a man who's been incarcerated for 15 years stand in that aisle and be in awe that there are 40 different types of toothpaste, 50 different, and he's got to make a decision. In addition to that, he has this phobia about the people around him. So it's a lot of, we'll call it inherent trauma that comes from the people who have been incarcerated. So at Damascus Way, we call a transformational reentry center. So all of our staff, our employment are culturally relevant. We have several individuals who have lived experience. I myself, many years ago, 36 years ago, I was sharing with Jennifer, had a history of addiction, never been incarcerated, but had multiple family members who were incarcerated. And therefore I was impacted by the system in this way. So we pride ourselves in hiring individuals who have that lived experience, who can actually help individuals who are going through this transformation, if you will, and being able to relate to them in tangible ways. We help with employment placement assistance. We have something called a continuous individual service plan, which literally is about 3 pillars in their lives, each individual's life. Like, what's your employment track? What's your community engagement track? What is your family re-engagement track? So these are just the major challenges that we try to face on the first step, and it looks different for every individual. So here's this is down in Rochester. This is one of the units down there where they have the bedrooms that I was telling you about. So we had a structured living environment. It's spiritual and personal development. It's affordable. So to promote individuals having a strong start in the beginning. We have a program called E3 Recovery Services. We're working specifically with peer recovery and addiction, overcoming addiction by having a multiple peer recovery, certified peer recovery specialists who work with our residents. We're primarily focused as a recovery service, really different and uniquely than other organizations. So how we inwardly, how do we support those people or individuals who are in our program? The E3 stands for enlist, equip, and to empower. Here you'll see that the core services of the E3 recovery program are, we have a peer recovery academy where we train CPRSs. We have peer recovery coaching and mentoring. We're constantly working with advocacy and community engagement. And then we have support meetings and outreach. Again, it just goes over the things that we're doing here as an organization, but it's very individualized. So we focus specifically on the needs of each of our individual residents, and what we have the desire at some point to expand into community. So at some point, as the program grows, we've only been aboard now for little over a year, but we're planning to move into general community, but we want to make sure we got the services working really well internally at Damascus Way. Destiny Dads, that's a men's program that literally touches the lives of brothers and reconnecting them with their kids. So with men who have been previously incarcerated or men who have been separated from their children due to there maybe a divorce or some breakup or something that went wrong. It's really about creating, we call it a brotherhood of fatherhood, where we support men. Men are supporting one another. They're coming beside each other to literally overcome some of the challenges of parenthood. We realize that many guys who have been incarcerated don't have parenting skills, and how we work with them to help them develop parenting skills or help them to navigate the systems like child support, or when they're dealing with child custody issues, or when they're trying to navigate how to properly manage a relationship with an ex or co-parent, if you will, with the mom of their children. So this program is primarily in Scott County. We just expanded into Minneapolis, and we actually have launched in Rochester. Just hasn't taken root yet, but this is something that really helps the guys out in quite a bit. So critical parenting skills, rebuilding healthy bonds with their children, and navigating the system. Those are critical functions of the Destiny Dads program. So Destiny Way, we're working at a juvenile alternative facility here in Scott County. It's youth-focused care, early judicial intervention, where we are actually working with kids when they have their first encounter with law enforcement. So many times it's the opportunity for us to actually positive or reinforce children, help them reconcile with their family, help them overcome some of the trauma that they may have. And then it's what we call fostering family resilience. Because again, it's all about family systems. One of the things that society or the world has done is really broken the family system, if you will. And we're trying to reconstruct, or how do we manage or help families to come back and to work as a solid unit. So this is one of the key programs we do here. Let me see, is that the last one? I think it was. Yeah, so those are the components of what we do at Damascus Way. We just work on it. We're continually working and incorporating all techniques and programs, building our programs up, trying to make it better and better each day. So yeah, that's what we do. And thank you guys for the time, allowing me the moment to share.
Thank you, Kevin. It was wonderful to learn more. And we did put the link to the Damascus Way website into the chat. So if you want to learn more, please go ahead and check them out so that you can learn more about the important work that Kevin and Tier and all of the team at Damascus Way are doing in our community. So thank you. And again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We'll do some questions and answers at the end. We are going to move on to our next speaker at the moment. We're going to focus a little bit on business ownership and entrepreneurship in our community. And our first speaker is Lee Green with Greenhouse Graphics. Lee is a graphic artist who specializes in branding and marketing design. He graduated from Briarcliff University in Sioux City, Iowa with a Bachelor of Arts, and is an award-winning designer with over 25 years of experience. And Greenhouse Graphics is equipped and skilled to take your brand's marketing design to the next level. His knowledge and understanding of high-quality design give him the ability to create eye-popping designs for both large and small businesses. We are one of those, we would say, small businesses. We're thrilled to be a customer of Lee's. For both large and small businesses around the world. Lee has been married to his wife, Jody, for 25 years, and they have two daughters, Kiana and Alexa. Welcome, Lee.
I should probably take myself off mute first before I speak, but thank you for having me. And Kevin, thank you for the in-depth presentation. I'm not as organized as Kevin, so I'll just speak freely here. But yeah, and I also want to thank Rochester Area Homes for their continued partnership and opportunity to reach out to people of color, to partner with them and do work with them. And matter of fact, there's several people on this particular call that are customers of mine that have partnered with mine. I consult for Salt and Light Partners. I see Christine and George, and Tier is also, Damascus Way is also one of my clients that I work with as well. And I see Amanda. Hi, Amanda. So basically, thank you for that introduction. Yeah, Yeah, so one of the questions was the overview to business ownership and what does that look like for me? So, Jennifer kind of explained who I am. My name is Lee Green, and I've been doing this for 25 years. But business ownership wasn't really a goal of mine until about 10 years ago. It wasn't really on my radar. It was very unconventional how it started for me. It wasn't really like, oh, I want to be a business owner, because quite honestly, in the communities that I come from, there's not a lot of business owners that look like me. So that really wasn't something of interest for me many years ago. So what had happened was, I should say what had happened. Well, that's not the correct way to say it. So I don't want anybody to speak that way. No, so what happened was I worked for a company called the Professional Skaters Association. The Professional Skaters Association is a business professional figure skating organization for coaches of all levels. So what we do is we train and accreditate coaches. We get them rated and ranked. Our coaches are nationwide. So we have coaches foreign and domestic here. We have them all over. International, China, we have them everywhere. We had about 8,000 coaches that were part of that organization. So what happened was I was the art director over there, and I started gaining, started having conversations and communications. And what I noticed was every single coach was a private walking business. What that means is every coach anywhere, Chicago, Florida, Houston, they all coach in these rinks. And so what I started to do was to build a clientele of coaches. So I started having conversations, going to conversations, and these coaches started figuring out that I do freelance on the side. So I started branding many coaches. Like I said, 4 coaches led to 25, 25 led to, 400 coaches. Now I'm branding all these different coaches on the side. It's basically a gateway for me working at the Professional Skaters Association. Like I said, Professional Skaters Association, it's like an education. It's like a university for coaches. So what that means is coaches come to us for insurance. They come to us for e-learning. They come to us for, conferences. They come to us for education. So when I say education, we have all types of different methods that we were training these coaches. And so I started developing partnerships with famous coaches. Sasha Cohen, Kimmy Meisner is still on my phone. Famous coaches like, all of them, Kathy Casey. I could just keep going down the line. And so I started branding them on the side. And then 10 years ago, I started looking at things like, wait a minute, I've developed this clientele of coaches. I'm like, wow, I think I could probably do this on my own. Now the PSA started to change. What I mean is the personnel started to change. The infrastructure of PSA started to change. So I was like, well, maybe it's time for me to go ahead and launch my own business and start doing my own thing. So I felt that that was a good time. So I went out probably about 7 years ago. I've been doing this since 2018, early 2018, so almost 8 years actually, but 2018. And so I went out and really started building my brand. Now, when I went out, just to back up a little bit, it was I kind of created a safe space for myself to go out. So I didn't have a whole lot of support again to do this. So how can I do this? How can I do this without without failing? I want it to be a sustainable business. So, my wife and I worked hard, so we got debt free and things like that, which also, and then, my wife also carries healthcare insurance through Mayo Clinic and things like that. So that the financial piece wasn't really, I could do this without having to fall, I guess what I'm saying. I had a safe space to operate the business within. So I did that for the first couple of years, but after about 2 years, I noticed that I'm like, okay, some things have to change. What am I going to do here? So I have to build my brand. So what does that look like? So I'm like, okay, I'm sustaining. I have all these coaches from PSA. However, I need to grow my business here locally. So I started to do that. So I started to connect with businesses, large and small, profit, nonprofit, and started to build a clientele of coaches. And by the 3rd year, like I said, I don't know if, and business owners, you'll hear this a lot. They're not going to make money in the first 2 to 3 years. That's just not a thing. You have to kind of slowly build your brand. And that's what I did. But after the third year, I had realized I had doubled in revenue, and I feel like, okay, now I'm here. So that's kind of how it went for me. It went from just being something to nothing to something, I should say, over the years. I've been running the greenhouse graphics for about how many years? I've 8 years, but I've been doing graphic now for 12 or 25. But yeah, it's just building and building. And now I feel like I have a sustainable brand. I don't market a whole lot anymore. I think the customers are in a situation where they kind of find me now. So I've been able to, that's kind of how I built my brand. So it's more of a self-building situation, if that makes sense. It wasn't really like I had a whole lot of outside help to get that off the ground, so to speak. So it was kind of a slow process for me. But anyway, but as far as the next question, I'll move on. I don't want to stay there, but the next question is that you have for me, General, was about working with the Black entrepreneurship team here in Rochester. That was also kind of a self-building or promoting kind of situation. Andre Crockett, myself, and Tawanda Burke decided, we have a lot of BIPOC and people of color that have these great ideas, but they don't know how to do it. They don't have support. And I think launching a business has to deal a lot with confidence. So where do these businesses go to get that? So we wanted to create an opportunity for them to find, some information, some resources that we could give them to kind of help them get off the ground. And my piece was to kind of help them with the branding portion. What does that look like moving forward? What are the most important pieces? Where should I put my money as far as branding? So we created an entrepreneurship team again. And the one piece of support that we did have, which I was kind of, excited about, was we got a space in the EDC. The EDC is a collaborating space between like Collider, Ready, SBDC, all these companies that do very similar stuff that we do for everyone. So it made it easy. So we have a collaborating space so we can, so if I said grassroots companies comes to us and says, I have a business that I just don't know what to do with it. I have this business, but where do I do with it? We can kind of move them to one of those different spaces depending on the demographic or whatever they're working on or that sort of thing. Because I know a lot of people that have some great ideas, but they just don't know. Some of them don't even have the basic skills, like how do you communicate, in a business environment? How do I create a spreadsheet? These basic things that you need to have to actually grassroots stuff that before you can even get to running a business or even thinking about running a business, you have to have certain skills. So that's where we come in. We want to give them those grassroots information, those grassroots skills so they can actually move forward. So that was the whole idea behind business, Black entrepreneurship team, and that initiative. And that's kind of how that went. So anyway, but and I'll close with this here. I don't want to be long. I wanted to be short. Like I know you only had 10 minutes here. One of the questions was does Black History Month mean to you, and how do you think the community can best support local initiatives? I think that's an outstanding question. For me, even as a young person, I've always felt like let me just start off by saying I think Black history is great that we celebrate a month of Black history and highlight things that Black folks have done throughout the years and that sort of thing. But for me, I think Black History Month is more for people that aren't Black, because I celebrate Black history all the time. I might find myself celebrating Black history in September or October. So for me, Black history is everywhere all the time. So for the month of February, I think that's for everyone else, not necessarily for me, because like I said, I celebrate Black, and I love that we highlight it. However, I highlight it all the time. So, and the last part of that question, how can we support local initiatives? I think that's a great question. For me, I think, again, just what I was saying, if we can make Black history just a part of history all the time, based like we do white history and any other kind of history, I think we wouldn't even really need Black history. But I appreciate Black history, and I'm glad we celebrated it in the month, because the reason why Black history was created of February is because we don't have enough spaces to highlight people of color. So just trying to integrate Black history into regular history would be the way to move forward, I think. So for me, that's what Black History Month means to me. It's just trying to get it normalized like any other history. So anyway, I'll leave with that because I don't want to be too long-winded.
Oh, that was perfectly, and thank you. And thank you for the very personal answer. And a good perspective. And I'll do a commercial. This is my commercial for Lee. So this was our annual report. Ellen mentioned it in the chat, that Lee designed. And I will tell you, he's very patient if you work with him. Which is helpful when you're working with me. And I'm like, oh, can we just, maybe tweak and change? And so thank you for your patience, Lee, not only for your creativity and your skills, but for your patience. So in a few months, you can all check out our 2024 annual report, also designed by Lee.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Jennifer.
He really is great to work with. We were going to be joined by Michelle Clark. She had some technical difficulties, and so I'm not sure, unless she popped on and I don't see her. Michelle, are you on? She was having technical difficulties. So instead, I will do a commercial for her, which is, if you have never been to Shell's Kitchen or enjoyed some of her amazing food, if you're looking for a caterer, we just hosted an event here. I was going to say last week, it might have been the week before, but Shell did our catering. Michelle did through Shell's Kitchen. It was fantastic. Several people who are on this call were there, and so they can all sing her praises with their applause. But if you've never been to Shell's Kitchen, please join her someday for an amazing lunch or dinner. Or if you're looking for a caterer, give them a try. So there is my official commercial, and Amanda put some information about how you can find Shell's Kitchen in the chat as well. So we thank Amanda for that. I am going to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Jackie Trotter. Jackie's going to tell us about not only herself and her journey here, but also about an important upcoming community event. And I'm so excited to hear more. Jackie started her career as a community volunteer upon moving with her husband to Rochester from Chicago in 1965. That year, she and her husband, Verge, helped found Rochester branch of the NAACP. In addition to her work with the NAACP, Jackie chaired a community committee which reviewed all K-12 textbook and teacher guides in social studies and language arts for the inclusion of people of color and women. I want to say this is the late 60s, early 70s. As a result, Jackie helped to write the first diversity curriculum for Rochester Public Schools in the early 1970s. She was also the founder of an African American Women Social and Cultural Support Group in the 70s. And through the years, Jackie continued to intermittently be a consultant for the school district until the early 1990s. Jackie helped found and became the executive director of the first community agency to address issues of diversity and racial justice in our community, the Diversity Council. Jackie returned to college and began a career as a school social worker with Rochester Public Schools. Upon retiring, she has mentored teen girls and been an active member of Rochester Community Baptist Church. Jackie is a wife, mother of 4, grandmother of 6, and a grateful descendant of her loving, persistent, and resilient ancestors. Welcome, Ms. Jackie Trotter.
Thank you very much, Jen. It is a real pleasure to be here. I'm so delighted to hear about the things that are happening at Damascus Way and with Greenhouse Graphics. And I have eaten Shell's food, so I know that it is absolutely delicious. And I appreciate so much the support of Rochester Area Foundation, of all of the people who are on this panel today and just the broader community for decades. So I'm delighted to be here. And I would like to just start off with a little history. My husband and I moved here in 1965. He was recruited by IBM. There were 25 African Americans in Rochester at that time. We made 27. At that time, I would say that there was very little exposure about, people didn't know about African Americans. Television, radio, the media did not spotlight African Americans. African Americans didn't live in Minnesota, in southeastern Minnesota, so there was just no exposure for the general public. There was no community. The African Americans were spread out in little silos, the 25 of us, 27 of us who were here in 1965, and there was no infrastructure. There were no African American churches, no African American organizations. So what the first African Americans who moved to Rochester in the 60s and 70s started to do was to increase exposure to us, build organizations like the NAACP. And I want to say that the godparents of the NAACP were Mr. and Mrs. Howard Naves, Howard and Georgia Naves, who moved to Rochester in the 1940s to open a boarding house because African Americans, Jews, and other people of color who came to Mayo Clinic were not welcome at other hospitality sites here. So Mr. and Mrs. Naves and Mrs. Naves' brother and sister-in-law also had boarding houses here for those community visitors. Mr. Naves said, we need an NAACP. So in spring of 1965, my husband and I had been here 3 months. We helped to start the NAACP, but led by Mr. and Mrs. Naves. Churches started to be started, other organizations started to be created. The consistent things, so that infrastructure and exposure started to build. In between 2025 and 1965, the two constants that I'd like to just mention are that there was always systematic racism. There was and there is. In addition, the second thing is there was always support by individuals in the white community and organizations within the white community, like the Rochester Area Foundation, like the Unitarian Universalist Church. There were always people who who were welcoming, along with the systematic racism. And I'll give you a personal example. After we lived here 4 years, my husband and I had put together the down payment for a house, and we had banked at the same bank for 4 years. My husband had worked in engineering for 4 years at IBM. So we had the down payment, we had a banking history, he had a professional job. We looked for a house. Our white realtor showed us around the community, and we went to our bank to get a mortgage loan, and they refused us. Our white realtor was so angry. He said, I will find you a mortgage company, which he did. So an example of systematic racism that was solved in that individual case by a white individual. We can't solve the problems of this country by individuals. We need to get rid of systematic racism. But we were one happy young couple that our white realtor stepped in manned up and said, I will find you a mortgage company. So that is a little bit of the history. In terms of what Black History Month means to me, Black History Month is a focus on what African Americans have contributed, and how we have strengthened the United States. But like Lee, I would say Black history is a year-round thing for me. It is part of what I do. I study it, I learn it, I try to share it. And so it's a year-round thing for me, and it strengthens me, encourages me, and inspires me to know what my people have done. We were not really a democracy in this country until 1965, when the Voter Rights Act passed and all citizens had the right to vote, like the Constitution said. So Black people, African American people, have helped to make this country live up to what it aspires to be. So I live Black History Month all year round, but I love the focus of Black History Month. It's like a birthday party. Everybody likes their birthday celebrated, so I like it. And just to illustrate an aspect of Black history and how it has changed, and what Black history, how I've learned about it for myself. My great-grandparents were born into slavery. They could not read and write because they were denied education because of slavery. My grandparents went to about second grade because their families were sharecroppers, and those children had to pick cotton. My parents were high school graduates. They were both bright, but they couldn't continue on to college because of the lack of money, because their families had been isolated from earning, in a way, had been discriminated against in the earning markets, so that their parents didn't have money to help them to do that. But they did, and their parents, my grandparents, encouraged them, so they finished high school. My generation, in my family, I was able to go to college. I graduated from college when I was 50. I started when I was 18, but life intervened and lack of money intervened. And when I started college, I was accepted at a college. I went to that college to get housing. All the dorms were gone. They gave us a list. I went to these houses. They opened the door, and suddenly the housing was not there. So I couldn't go to the university I was accepted at because of housing discrimination. So Black history, I think about the history of my family and education, and I am delighted to know what my family did. My grandmother, when I was in college, went to a rummage sale and bought me a $1 typewriter because she wanted me to have what I needed to be successful in college. And I used that typewriter. I used that typewriter till I was about 25 years old. So thank you, Grandma. Now, I would like to say that on February 28th, the finale event of the NAACP Black History Month celebration will be a production called The Sound of Gospel Music. 2 other women and I went to see it in Minneapolis last Black History Month, and we were thunderstruck with the beauty, inspiration, and the impact that it had on that multiracial audience. We were like one. That production brought us together. We were chatting with the people around us, singing, dancing. We were joyful as a community. And we looked at each other and we said, Rochester needs this. Rochester deserves this. And even though we'd never brought any production anywhere, we said, we're bringing it to Rochester. Right. Okay. So we came back to Rochester. And so it will be in Rochester. It is sponsored by the NAACP. They are our fiscal agents. It is called The Sound of Gospel Music. It is an inspiring, exciting, educational experience and it tells the history of gospel music through dance, song, and drama. It will be Friday, February 28th at 7 p.m. at Presentation Hall. It is entitled The Sound of Gospel Music. It is directed by Miss Javita Steele of the Minnesota entertainment family, the Steeles. She is an Oscar-nominated singer, and her brother is the music director. He is a Grammy-winning artist, and it is produced by William Pierce, who is a pastor in Minneapolis and has started a Second Chance Outreach, which are the producers and which offers many benefits to that Twin Cities community. The tickets are between $15 and $20. Our sponsors are the Rochester Area Foundation, the City of Rochester Community Building Grant, Mayo Clinic's Dolores Jean Lavin Center for Humanities and Medicine, the African American Churches of Rochester, and the NAACP. And we invite you all to be there. Be there or be square. I am telling you, it is going to be fabulous.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. I'm so excited. I have seen some productions that the Steeles have been involved in the cities before. And I am delighted that you and your counterparts in our community went there last year and saw them and had your determination, as you have shown through your many years in Rochester, brought that determination back here and have brought the production here. So Ellen did put a link in the chat. As Jackie said, there are still some tickets available. So I think they're going to start going fast. So please, please, please click on the link. They're very affordable, as Jackie said, $15 and $20. I also want to highlight something that a very humble individual hasn't highlighted. But before the actual event, before the singing starts, before the dancing, before the celebration, right before that, for about an hour prior, Jackie and her committee are putting together a community resource fair as well for individuals in our community who might be attending, don't know where to go, maybe there's a resource that they don't know is available to them. So there will be, again, in addition to celebration, there will be, of course, a time for education and gathering as well in the community resource fair. So come a little bit early. First, go buy your tickets. Then on the 28th, when you're there, come a little bit early and check out the community organizations that will be part of the community resource fair, because I think it'll be a great chance for organizations serving in our community to share their stories as well. So sorry if you were going to do that, Jackie, and I just stole your thunder.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Please have people come. There will be an array. We're also doing a raffle, giving out gift certificates during that time. And it is from 5:45 to 6:45, also at Mayo Civic Center, just across the hall from Presentation Hall. Thank you, Jennifer.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Jackie. Thank you for sharing with us. Amanda put a link in the chat from that I can see Charlie in there, that Charlie created about the upcoming presentation. So we're excited to be able to help bring this incredible presentation to life. We have just a couple minutes left for either Kevin or Jackie or Lee, things that came up as you heard each other talking that you would want to mention. Couple of closing comments or anything else you'd like to add?
I want to get in touch with Lee. I've been in touch with Shell in the past, and just think the work of Damascus House is just wonderful. Damascus Way, rather.
I would love to work with the trailblazer, the great Jackie Trotter. So anything I can do to help you, you just let me know, and I'd love to collaborate in any spectrum or any kind of thing. So
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to say to Ms. Trotter, thank you so much for embodying the history of Black people. So you, in all your efforts, you literally stand for what it means to be that person that is intentional. So I just want to thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you. But I just want to say, everybody who spoke today, both of you gentlemen, Shell, and I get the non-techie stuff. And Shell, if she had been here, I see George's face, I see Charlie. I think about the support that the Rochester Area Foundation has given to this project, and to each of you have relationships with the Rochester Area Foundation. This kind of relationship is one of the factors that contributes to us continuing on, because it can get pretty dark sometimes. And if there are not harbors like the Rochester Area Foundation to sail into now and then, I'm going to tell you, we wouldn't be here smiling and being able to do the kind of work that we do. So the thing is, we are all in this together. Some people do not know that, but the people who are here today, we know that. And I truly believe that the world belongs to those who show up. And George Thompson, I see you sitting over there. You have shown up, my brother. So, thank you for the accolades, but this is
Can
a
I
group
just make
thing.
a quick comment?
You sure can, Mr. Thompson.
I have been blessed to have Jackie Trotter as my leader and guide for many years. And it's always amazing when you open your mouth, I learn even more stuff about the past. I only arrived here in 1968 and Jackie had everything all worked out. We tried to start a few things, but it's about working together. That's absolutely correct. The NAACP was started by Black and white people. We need to work together. And that's what we've tried to say in this community for a long time. We all need each other to be successful. Thank you, Jackie, for your leadership. And thank you for Damascus Way. And I knew about you because Charlie's my neighbor. So I quick called him up and say, hey, you got to get on. But appreciate all the help from all of the folks, and especially the Rochester Area Foundation.
Oh, thank you, George. And, as the new kid on the block, only here since 1968, blazing your own trail. It's hard to break into this community. So you keep going. You're going to get there. No, I'm just teasing you. Every conversation that we are lucky to be a part of in this space involves typically Mr. George Thompson and the trailblazing work that he has done, along with Jackie Trotter and so many others. And I don't want to name names because I will invariably miss one. But we truly are grateful. Thank you to Kevin for sharing more about Damascus Way. I knew I would learn a lot this morning, and I know I did, and I know many of our guests did as well. Thank you to Lee for sharing your journey on how you have become a leader in our community and a successful business owner. Thank you to Ms. Jackie Trotter for decades of blazing trails, for not saying no, for not being quiet, for always doing what needs to get done. We are truly, truly grateful to you and indebted for your service to our community. Again, thank you all to each of you for joining us. We will see you back here in 1 month. We will be here on March 5th. For our next coffee and conversation. So we hope you will join us then at 9 a.m. Until then, please continue to lift every voice in our community, not just, as Lee said, in February, but every day, and stand alongside members of our community, Black members of our community, our brothers and sisters, who deserve to be celebrated every single day, not just in February. We will see you all again in March, but hopefully you've already clicked out the link, bought your tickets, and we will see you at the Sound of Gospel on February 28th. Until then, have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay warm. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.